Modern video games are more expensive than ever. New releases are now up to $70. On top of that, games are filled to the brim with extra purchases. With extremely expensive consoles, video games are easily the most expensive form of entertainment. How did it reach this? Since the 1990s, when video games were beginning to become a legitimate business, sales were based on selling full copies of the game, both in physical and digital formats. Around the early 2000s, game companies had started to shift their purchasing models to include surcharges that would provide further gameplay, cosmetic items, or in-game bonuses. These were prominently known as expansions, or DLC, downloadable content. A newer type of purchase is a microtransaction. This typically refers to a smaller purchase that provides a boost or cosmetic. Certain modern games have really started to blur the lines between DLC and microtransaction. But more on that soon. Expansions are not exclusively a digital thing. Board games like Dungeons & Dragons have had expansions since the 1980s. Another board game, Dominion, has a ridiculous amount of expansions. It would cost you over $300 to buy every Dominion expansion with over 696 unique cards to play with. The DLC throughout history that are held in high regard have good standing because they creatively build from the ideas of the original games, adding new mechanics, story, and characters. Great DLC can hold on its own as a game, and in some cases can even completely change the balance and context of everything in the original game. The worst DLC have fallen short by delivering little content, simply extending the playtime of the normal game, or even destabilizing the base game with the changes. Borderlands 2 is a game known for its abundance of DLC, good and bad. Purchasing Borderlands 2 and all its DLC at full price would run you up to $150. Why is this a strategy the game developers take? Wouldn't it be more profitable to just spend the time making more full-price games or sequels instead of selling DLC at a large discount? No! Game development is extremely expensive. Sony reported spending upwards of $300 million making Horizon Zero Dawn. Sequels and new titles are also extremely risky. Another Sony game, Concord, cost the company $400 million and was completely shut down and taken off the market 2 weeks after the release. This was in September of 2024, by the way. But with DLC, developers can keep making money on their known successes long after the release. A small number of hits must cover the production costs of a large number of products which fail to make a profit. Instead of spending 7 years developing a new game or a sequel, a set of Mercedes crossover skins might make just as much money. This brings me to Overwatch, a game that has dramatically changed since its release in 2016. Overwatch is a multiplayer hero shooter. Hero refers to the huge roster of unique characters that all have drastically different gameplay styles. This adds another layer of strategy to the game, and through knowing lots about each character, a team can work together to counter and best the other team. Overwatch is developed by Activision Blizzard, who are also known for the Call of Duty and Diablo series. Overwatch at release was $40, but it left out no content like many genre-adjacent games. In Star Wars Battlefront and Rainbow Six Siege at the time, the characters all had to be unfairly earned through literal weeks of grinding, or paid for with real money. The only thing in Overwatch that could be purchased were cosmetic items. In 2022, everything changed for Overwatch. Blizzard announced that Overwatch would be permanently shut down and replaced by Overwatch 2. Overwatch 2 is free to play, and is basically identical to Overwatch 1 in every way except for some minor gameplay changes and character reskins. The biggest change was the addition of the item shop. With multiple purchasable currencies and character skins that cost upward of $30, new players to the game had to slowly unlock every character, and then use in-game currency to unlock any new characters added to the game later. I think this change really illuminates how this company views their audience and loyal fans. All the people who paid for Overwatch 1 basically had their purchase thrown in the trash. I literally threw my Overwatch 1 disc in the dumpster, because it's now worthless. I think that this is really hurting the industry's credibility, and is turning off more and more players every day. Instead, the games industry is focusing on the new market of young kids who don't value money like an adult would. Instead of making their games for the sake of fun content and passion for the craft, The focus is making every dime they can for as long as they can. Overwatch 2 is different from the first game because these tactics have pushed away everyone who loved the game. In Overwatch 1, it felt like the developers wanted me to have fun. But in 2, it feels more like the game just isn't for the people who want to see it get better. I've read many fights in game forums where players are split on the absurdity of these expensive microtransactions. More than ever, the players are at odds with the developers, fighting to get every scrap of fun from their microtransaction-filled games without ending up broke. But still, these developers are content trying to rob their players at every corner. If you can still stomach Overwatch 2, by all means enjoy your time with it. But if I can offer any advice, try and find an indie game developer and support them instead. Indie games are bigger than ever thanks to YouTube and Steam giving these games the ability to blow up. These are the developers that care about video games. They care about their players having fun. They might not always get it right, but they are actual gamers making games. The indie devs of today are the AAA devs of tomorrow. If you're going to take away anything from this, know that your wallet has so much power. We can change the video game industry. We can make games so much better. Thanks for listening.